Alright, Mr. Blevins here again. Just going to show you, I hate to call it a traditional origami because there is some cutting involved, but it technically counts, I guess. You do fold it. It does end up kind of resembling a lot of origami, but since there's a cut involved, I hate to call it a full-fledged origami model, but for the purposes of this video, yeah, it's origami. So the first thing we're going to do, you can see I creased my piece of paper already. I've got a piece of origami paper, but yet again, you do not need origami paper. You can do this with just a sheet of notebook paper. And since you're going to cut it, notebook paper might actually be better in this case, since that way you don't have to feel, oh, I wasted a piece of origami paper just to make a non-origami model. But anyway, the reason I started with it already creased, you've already done these folds, but I wanted to show you kind of where to stop early before actually making a bird base. So if you start out just like you were going to make a bird base with the color side up, or pick a side on a sheet of notebook paper, you might make a little pencil line just so scribble on there just so you know which side is the color side, which side's not. But if you start with the color side up, make your crease lines across the diagonal and then across the other diagonal so that you've got your nice little valley of X's on the dark side of the paper. And then turn it over, crease the horizontal, and also crease the vertical. Now, we've done this in the bird base before, so I'm not going to go as slow as I did in that video, but if it perplexes you, then by all means go back to the bird base video and watch how we did that. But you lift this corner up, makes that little 3D corner, and then you push back down along your previously made creases. Now, in the bird base, you would have to then flip this side up and go to that elongated diamond shape that I talked about. But we're going to stop here as far as making the bird base. So we've got this nice smaller 1/4 size square from the sheet that you started with. It's got a closed edge up here. It's got an open edge down here. Alright? So what we're going to do with that open edge facing us, we're just going to take that top flap, just the top one, and we're going to fold it up just a little ways. So you want to fold it up kind of like that. So it makes this smaller white triangle against the kind of larger outline of the color side at the top. Okay? If you flip the model over, do the same thing. You can kind of peek through these two peaks down here to see where your other side was folded up to. See how you can kind of see the line right up here for the other side. And just fold it up to the same distance that you folded the other side. So you should have a very similar appearance on both sides of your model. It should look the same on both sides. Now, here's the part that makes it not really a true origami, in that you are going to have to find a pair of scissors, which one would think I did before this video, but I didn't. I'm going to take a pocket knife, and you're going to want to remove just a small triangle from the top. I'm going to go right about there. And if you got scissors, it'd be a lot easier. I didn't take the time to find some scissors beforehand, but it'll work nonetheless. Or if it doesn't work, then one might remember that this nice little utility knife has a pair of scissors built into it. You might remember it too late and you've already cut it with your knife, but better late than never. Or maybe the knife was a better choice anyway, since these scissors seem to be not the greatest in quality, but they're tiny scissors. What do you expect? Alright, so now you have this model. Don't throw away your little triangle. Don't throw that away. That's an important piece. So keep this little guy over here to the side. Now, you've got this almost diamond shape, except it's missing its top little triangle up here. You've got these folded up little white sides. And what you're going to do, you're going to take your little triangle. Notice how he has 4 little peaks coming off him. If you look down on it, it looks like an X almost. What you're going to do with this is, if you notice down here in your bigger model, you have 2 peaks sticking up. You're going to take this little guy and you're going to line that X up so that those 2 peaks come up through. Now don't let it go, because it'll just fall in there. But what you're going to want it to look like is that. So you've got your little triangle you just cut off, and you've got these 2 larger peaks coming through so that there's a flap of the little guy on either side. You've got a little flap back here behind the peak, you've got a little flap up here in front of the peak, and you've done that on both sides. So what you're going to want to do, scoot the little guy up just enough along that so that you can grab the model down at the bottom. And what you want to do is you want to grab a thumb on either peak, see how the peaks don't attach to each other, and you want to start pulling these little peaks toward you. While you're pulling them back and forth toward you, kind of back and forth, you want to push them together to kind of pinch the little triangle guy that you just set on there. And if you've done it right, and you're holding the model, you should be able to work those little peaks back and forth so that the little triangle, just with you going back and forth, shoots out the top of your model. And this will work. I can't really show it to you holding it up, but it kind of fights gravity to go up because the friction between the 2 little peaks that you made, and you can keep putting them back on there and keep playing with them, but it'll go against gravity because of the friction. You probably want a little bit more sturdy piece of paper than mine is. Mine's kind of a thin origami paper. It's kind of tissue-like. But the friction will work together to push him out the top every time. And it's just kind of a fun little thing to pass the time. It's a nice example of friction at work. But this model is called Monkey Climbs the Mountain because this little guy, the little guy that comes up through, is supposed to be like a monkey. And as you can see here, you've got your nice little mountain shape against the dark background there. You could also think of it maybe as this is one of the lower peaks in the range, and this big one with the flat top, it's Mount Fuji, since that is technically a volcano. And when the little monkey goes up through, he pops out the top. So once you're finished playing, you can just take your little monkey and store him on top of that. And there you go. Monkey climbs the mountain.